Hello and welcome. This is a presentation by my partner, Prophet Ogedembe, and I, Nmesoma on conflict and corruption in Africa, the Great Wall of Benin. This topic highlights the severe impact of colonial conflict on African heritage, using the Great Wall of Benin as a case study. We have conducted thorough research to explore how this monumental site was affected. Imagine a wall so vast it dwarfs even the Great Wall of China, a testament to the ingenuity and power of an ancient African kingdom. The story of the Great Wall of Benin is a story of resilience, innovation, and ultimately the tragic loss of a cultural treasure. The Great Wall of Benin serves as a powerful example of how colonial conflicts have led to the destruction of an irreplaceable cultural heritage across Africa. How do we reconcile with the lasting impacts of colonial destruction and work towards preserving what remains of Africa's rich history? The construction of the wall spans centuries, starting as early as 800 AD. It is thought that the earliest phases of constructions predate the Ogiso dynasty. Archaeological evidence and oral traditions suggest that moats, which are a key part of the wall system, were already in existence during this time. These early moats likely served as a variety of purposes, such as socio-political organizations, economic activity, and defense. The wall system underwent significant expansion during the reign of Oba Uwari the Great in the 15th century. Oba Okuala, who reigned from approximately 1280 to 1295, is credited with completing the first and second moats. Later, Oba Uwari the Great, reigning from around 1440 to 1473, added a significant 3,200 kilometers extension to the moat system. This vast network of walls and ditches were truly monumental. It is estimated to have spanned around 16,000 kilometers, enclosing approximately 6,500 square kilometers of land. To put that in perspective, it is 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China and used 100 times more material than the Great Pyramid of Cheops. The Guinness Book of Records, the 1974 edition, recognized it as the world's largest earthwork carried out before the mechanical era. Wall defense was a primary function. The wall also served other purposes that acted as a form of demarcation, separating communities and territories within the Benin Kingdom. The inner wall, about 10,000 kilometers long, delineated the monarch's quarter, which included the palace and areas where royal guild members resided. The outer wall enclosed the territory of 6 of the 7 Nmesoma chiefs, who held a considerable amount of political influence. There were 9 controlled gates that provided entry into the city, and at night these gates were locked. Starting in the 15th century, European explorers and traders began to document their encounters with Benin City. Their accounts were filled with awe and admiration for the city's size, organization, and of course, its impressive defenses. Portuguese explorer Duarte Pereira in 1472 offered one of the earliest glimpses into the Benin Wall. In the early 1600s, Dutch explorer Dirk Reuters also noted the city's fortifications, highlighting the earthworks, moats, and well-guarded gate. Perhaps the most famous description comes from Alfred Dapper, a Dutch physician and writer who in 1668 published his Description of Africa. While he never visited Benin City himself, he compiled accounts from other Dutch travelers and missionaries. Dapper's description emphasized the grandeur of the walls, claiming they were 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China. Initially, relations between Benin City and European powers were largely focused on trade. European nations were eager to establish trade routes, importing goods like ivory, palm oil, and pepper from the wealthy kingdom. However, this initial period of trade and diplomacy gradually gave way to tension and conflict. The growing European demand for slaves in particular destabilized the region and led to conflicts along the borders of the Benin Empire. Initially filled with wonders and respect, their attitudes eventually shifted as economic interests and colonial ambitions took precedence. The late 19th century marked a turning point in the relationship between Benin City and the British. Trade disagreements escalated and the violence between the two sides increased. In 1897, British forces launched what became known as a punitive expedition. Their object was to assert control over Benin City, punishing those they deemed responsible for the earlier clashes. The British forces overwhelmed the city's defenses, including the Great Wall of Benin. The invasion resulted in a widespread destruction of Benin City. Buildings were burned and the city was thoroughly looted. This act of cultural vandalism, including the dismantling and destruction of the Great Wall of Benin. In addition to physical destruction of the wall, countless artifacts were stolen and even shipped to Europe. Among the most well-known of these looted items are the Benin bronzes, intricate bronze sculptures and plates that was once adorned in the palaces in the compounds of Benin City. The most immediate consequence was physical dismantling of the wall system. Sections of the wall were broken down, with the materials often being repurposed for other reconstruction projects. This act of destruction not only erased a physical monument, but also began the process of erasing its history and significance from the landscape. The looting that accompanied the British invasion resulted in immeasurable loss of cultural heritage. Priceless artifacts, many of which were sacred or historically significant, were stolen and scattered across museums and private collections in Europe. This dispersal of cultural objects made it incredibly difficult to study and understand the full scope of Benin's artistic and cultural achievements. The destruction of the Great Wall of Benin went far beyond the loss of physical structure. It represented a profound attack on the Edo identity and cultural pride. The wall system was a symbol for the Edo's people's ingenuity, resilience, and power. Its dismantling was a symbolic act of dominance, an attempt to erase a significant part of their history. For generations, the Great Wall of Benin had been a tangible link to the past for the local community. Its presence in the landscape served as a constant reminder of their ancestors' achievements and their own cultural heritage. The destruction of the wall severed these connections, leaving a void in the collective memory and sense of place for the Edo people. The loss of the wall, along with countless artifacts, created a significant gap in the historical narrative of the Edo people. Understanding the full scope of their history, culture, and traditions became more challenging with the absence of these essential pieces of the puzzle. Despite the immense challenges, local communities have been at the forefront of efforts to preserve and protect what remains of the Great Wall of Benin. These initiatives often focus on heritage education, raising awareness among the younger generations about the importance of the wall system and the need to preserve its history. Community members have also undertaken small-scale restoration projects, working to stabilize and protect sections of the wall from further damage. These campaigns aim to return stolen cultural treasures to their rightful owners, allowing for their study, preservation, and display in their original context. Alongside reparations efforts, there are numerous organizations and individuals working to raise awareness about the significance of the Great Wall of Benin and the need for its preservation. Recognizing its historical and cultural importance, the Great Wall of Benin has been proposed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This designation would provide international recognition and support for preservation efforts, helping to protect the wall system for future generations. The Benin moat was proposed as an extension to the existing World Heritage Site of the Royal Palaces of Abomi in 1995. Though it is still awaiting official recognition by UNESCO. One of the most pressing threats facing the Great Wall of Benin is the encroachment of modern development. As Benin City expands, sections of the wall system have been destroyed to make way for real estate projects and infrastructure. This underscores the ongoing tension between preserving cultural heritage and the pressure of urban growth. A significant obstacle to large-scale preservation efforts is the lack of adequate funding and resources. Restoration and conservation projects require expertise, materials, and ongoing maintenance, all of which can be costly. Ownership disputes over various parts of the wall system present another challenge to preservation. And as the city has grown and encompassed areas that were once outside the wall, different communities lay claim to sections of earthworks. These disputes can stall preservation efforts and even lead to further damages as party struggles for control over the land. Securing increased international funding is crucial to support comprehensive restoration and conservation efforts. The funding could come from a variety of sources, including international organizations, government, as well as private donors. Partnering with heritage organizations and archaeological experts is essential for ensuring that preservation work is conducted in a responsible and sustainable manner. These collaborations can provide access to technical expertise, best practices, and training for local communities involved in preservation efforts. Expanding heritage education programs both locally and globally is key to fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility for protecting the Great Wall of Benin. These programs can teach the younger generations about the wall's history, significance, as well as the importance of cultural heritage preservation. And stronger government support and legislation are needed to protect the wall system from further encroachment of development projects. This could involve designating protected zones around the remaining sections of the wall and implementing stricter penalties for those who try to damage or destroy it. Actively involving local communities in the decision-making process and empowering them to be stewards of their own heritage is vital for long-term success. This approach can ensure that preservation efforts align with community values and priorities. In closing, reiterate the overarching message that preserving cultural heritage like the Great Wall of Benin is not merely about saving old structures. It's about safeguarding the history, identity, and cultural continuity of communities and nations. While the destruction of the Great Wall of Benin is a tragedy, it is also a powerful reminder of the enduring legacy of colonialism in Africa. The looting and destruction of cultural heritage were deliberate tactics used to undermine local populations and assert colonial dominance. The history of the Great Wall of Benin is a reminder that the fight to protect cultural heritage is ongoing. We must all do our part to ensure that these treasures are preserved for future generations. Thank you for listening.